Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Torah learning of spreading light and love into the world. We always like to start off with giving because how we give, that's how Hashem's going to give to us. So let's all give generously so Hashem can and will give us generously. So I'm going to put some coins in the tzedakah box. We are going to start off with Tehillim for the safety of our brothers and sisters in Israel. And in these circumstances, we can say it in the evening. I'm also going to ask everyone to have in mind my dear grandmother, Bela Bas Chaya. Hashem should be with her and her children, and she should be well and well taken care of. So we're going to have her in mind as well. So we're going to pull up the screen now with the Tehillim, and I'm going to read it, and you can read along. Psalm 20. Okay. Lam Natseach. So we're going to be reading Psalm 20. Kapitel 20. Lam Natseach Mizmar LeDavid Yancha Adonai B'yam Sarah Yisagevcha Shem Elehe Yaakov Yishlach Ezracha Mikaidesh Umitzian Yisadecha Yizkar Kol Minchaisecha Ve'elascha Yidashnet Tela Yitain Lacha Chalavevcha V'chol Atzascha Yimale Neranana B'shuasecha Uv'Shem Elehenu Nidgal Yimale Adonai Kol Mishaletecha Ata Yadaiti Ki Haishia Adonai Mishichai Yanehu Mishmei Kachai Bigrurais Yesha Yiminai Ela Varacha Be'ela Vasusim Va'anachnu Mishem Adonai Elehenu Naskir Hema Karo V'Nafalu Va'anachnu Kamnu V'Nis Aidad Adonai Haishia HaMelech Yanenu B'Yam Karenu. We're dedicating this evening tonight in merit for 1 second. In merit for the complete refuah shalema for Rachel Bas Chaya Yita, Chana Yenta Rivka Bas Shendel, Chana Bela Bas Devora, Razel Bas Adas, Rafal Chaimer Ben Simachasha, Yosef Ben Devora Leah, Bela Bas Chaya, Chana Leah Sarah Ba Pesha Gittel, and everyone that needs. I also do this weekly in memory of my dear grandmother, Rivka Dina Bas Yosef Yehuda. I hope you're proud. I do this in memory of my dear great uncle who recently passed away, Chaim Dober Ben Betzalo. To save a life is saving a world, and he saved many. We're also doing this in memory of my dear friend who recently passed away, Chaya Sarabat Rebbe Lazar. May her neshama have the highest aliyah. We're doing this in merit, and we're including everyone's names of the Chayalim. Yisrael Ephraim Ben Chayat Sivya. He should be safe. He's fighting for us in Gaza. Reuven Chaim Ben Nechadina, Rafal Ben Devora Leah, and one of the IDF soldiers that got injured, Shachar Yisrael Ben Ronid. He should heal immediately, and everyone, and the hostages should come home immediately. We're now going to share a short clip of all about the special evening of Tu B'Shvat. Thanks for sharing. We are now going to introduce to you our guest speaker, who I'm really excited to introduce. She spoke for us in the past. She has many titles. I'll post her website in the chat box so you can see all about her if you'd like. And we sent it out earlier. But Sheva is also a friend to many, and she recently went on a mission to Israel solo. She decided that she had to go and give back to our people in Israel, and we were in touch, and she told me she had such amazing stories that happened and she would like to share it. And I am so excited to hear. I didn't want to hear it then, but I wanted to hear it live with all of you ladies tonight. So I'm so excited to introduce to you Sheva Balkany. Welcome back.
Hi, Kaya. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I feel so lucky and honored to be here for many reasons. So firstly, Kaya and I are born a day apart, and we always celebrate this month of Shevat together. And Tu B'Shvat has always been my favorite day of the year since I'm a kid. So I always do something special to celebrate it. And this year, when Chaya asked me to come and speak on Tu B'Shvat, I felt really honored that this was going to be my thing that I'm doing to celebrate Tu B'Shvat this year. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for having me. I'm going to share a little bit about I can't say it's why Tu B'Shvat is important to me, because I've always felt connected to Tu B'Shvat, but really, when we think about Tu B'Shvat, it is the celebration of the trees. And man is compared to the tree. Man is the tree. And the unique aspect of the tree is that it is rooted. So trees are rooted. Fruits aren't, vegetables aren't, but trees are. And the best in man, or the strength of man, comes out when we are connected to our roots. And if we look at all the trees, the olive tree is actually the tree that is the strongest, and it's because the roots of the olive tree expands really deeply and strong. And Jews are compared to olives. And if we look back in the Torah, it goes back from the Mabul. We had the olive branch. Hanukkah, the miracle of Hanukkah was with oil. There's lots of references to olives and Jews in the Torah. And what is the exceptional aspect of olives? It's that the fruit is bitter. But when it is pressed, this oil is sweet. And unfortunately or fortunately, when we are pressed, our strength comes out. And for me, October 7th was a time where I became reconnected to many of the roots that maybe I wasn't connected to beforehand. And that was my brothers and sisters in Israel. And the connection that I have and my roots that I've established since that day have been a way that I am reconnecting to my to the roots that make me up, that the roots that make me who I am. So I'm going to share with you my story of what woke me up in terms of I'm just gonna see, just hold on one second, because the video is to the side and I think I'm looking that way. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to, okay, it's better now. Okay, so what woke me up on October 7th that made it different? And that's what I want to share today. There have been many attacks on Israel in the past 75 years. And this was definitely a pivotal time in my life. So I grew up in a home that was very connected to Israel, very biblically connected to Israel. Israel was our land, our holy land. It was a very sacred place where we would go and spend time and visit sites that, holy sites, historical sites. And that was my connection to Israel. When I was a child, probably like 8 years old, I came across books on the Holocaust, and being a very curious reader, I started reading memoirs on the Holocaust, and I actually read hundreds. I finished the library in our house, and I went to the Jewish library in Borough Park, where I grew up, and I got any book on the Holocaust that I can read, and I read them. And they made a very indelible mark on me. It was not me just reading books for interest. I would cry through the stories. I would close my eyes and try to imagine the pain and suffering that this individual embarked on, despite the fact that there was an individual celebration of survival. For every person that survived, there were hundreds of people that they knew and witnessed, if not thousands, witnessed personally destroyed. And I did this for a few years. I don't think my mother knew, but I did do this, and I read a lot, to the point where I knew in my young mind that I had to stop. But coming away from reading for years books on the Holocaust, I always had 3 questions in my mind. One was, if the world knew that such horror and such savagery, barbarism could take place in modern era, what would have been different? So, we can think about the pogroms, and we can think about the Middle Ages, and that makes sense to us, right? Okay, it was a different time. People were more vicious, but Germany was modern. Like, I can totally understand why people in the 1930s thought, oh, but that won't happen here, or that won't happen now. But if modern society did know that the world was capable of such savagery, how would it have been different? And that question just reverberated in my mind. And the second question was, if the Jews had an army, so if they had a way to protect themselves physically, how would that have been different? And my third question was, how did American Jewry live when the gas chambers were running? It was inconceivable to me, like, to wake up and eat breakfast, and just across the ocean, millions of our brothers and sisters were being murdered. The third question, I had someone to ask. It was my grandmother. She grew up in Michigan and was an adult during the war time. And I asked her, I said, Bubby, how was it growing up in America during the Holocaust? And she said, we didn't know. We knew that terrible things were happening, but we didn't know the extent. And sometimes we would hear, but we would hope. We would pray that it was actually just rumor. And when I heard that, my second question became another if and how, which is, if the Jews in America knew what was happening in Germany and Poland and Europe, how would they have behaved differently? And so I had these questions, and a time came where I retired reading memoirs on the Holocaust, but these questions didn't leave me. I from time to time would always think about them, especially when I was interacting with some sort of, historical Holocaust commemoration or museum or experience. And I decided that I would do my part in ensuring a never again, by creating the safest America as I could as an individual. So to me, that meant knowing current affairs. And I got very interested in American politics, and I diverted my reading about the Holocaust to American politics. And I became a very staunch in my opinions, and they always leaned towards a secure economic future. because I felt like Germany was susceptible to Hitler and to coming under Nazism because they were struggling. And if we could keep America vibrant, then there wouldn't be a bedrock for anti-Semitism to grow. And so I became very much into American politics, to the point where when I was in seminary, and we had to give a talk, I actually spoke about, in Israel, I was talking about how important it was as American Jews to vote in America for a strong America economy. And I was just, my mind was directed to, I'm an American Jew and I live in America, and we are going to make America a safe haven for the Jewish people. And that was it. I lived my life, traveled the globe. Last time I spoke to Chaya on your line, I think I was in New Zealand. Now I'm in Australia. And I love to travel, been many, many places. And there was only one place that I decidedly did not go, and that was Poland. From all my years of reading, I just could not bring myself to go to Poland. The extent of genocide, real genocide that went on there, it was too hard, it was too heavy for me to bear. And I never went to Poland until this past September. I got this urging desire to go to Poland, and I honored it. And on October 3rd, 2023, I landed in Warsaw, and I went alone. I was scared, and but I figured this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go land for like 12 hours, roam the streets, see everything, and just see how I go. And then if I'm okay, then I can know that I could come back and visit the camps and visit, the history of our Jewish people in that time. And so I landed in Warsaw in the morning, and I spent 12 hours, and I roamed the streets, and I actually couldn't stop crying. Even just talking about it, I get emotional. I was dredging up every single memory of my readings, and the fact that there's really very, very little, if any, remnants to the history of the Jews in Poland, the ghetto. It was utterly devastating for me. And one other thing that really struck me was that I'm a person that lives with time. So every day is an opportunity for me to connect to the energy of the day. And after 25 years of avoiding Poland, I was in Poland on Sukkot, right? And that I could not comprehend that. Like, as I'm roaming the streets, I'm thinking, what on earth made me land in Poland on the happiest day, holiday of the year? And here I am crying. Like, I don't think I've ever cried on this holiday before. And I put myself here, and I trusted, and I just, accepted that. And I reflected very deeply on my 3 questions. So, like, if and how the Jews in America knew, what would we have done different? If and how we had an army, how would it be different? And if and how the world knew about the barbarism, how would it be different? And on October 4th, I landed in Israel, and I was in Israel on October 7th. I woke up, I was in a hotel that didn't allow us to leave, and we basically spent the day in bomb shelters. We had to go, it wasn't a choice. They made you go into the bomb shelter. And it was Simchas Torah. So what we knew as Jews in the hotel was that we were going to tap into the joy of the day, but there was a very, very dark, gloomy cloud on us. And I spent the time in the hotel thinking about these 3 questions, and I'm thinking, like, wow, but you know what? No matter what is happening, we now know what the modern world is capable of. We have an army. We have the internet. Like, never again is now. It's happening. It's not going to be, because we're equipped. And then Shabbos was over, and I turned on my phone, and I got 2 pieces of news. The first piece of news was that my brother-in-law's unit lost 9 soldiers. They're not really soldiers. They are a part of the counterterrorism unit, and they are warriors that as a career, and 30 plus were injured. When I heard that, I knew that this was not just some attack. This was something life-changing. And then I watched a video, and the video was specific. I'm not going to get into the details because I think people have different capacity, and I honor that. But I watched the video of Naama Levy. And when I saw that, I knew that this was a time that we all have to stand up, because never again is now. And all my 3 questions were answered. We have an army. The whole world knows what modern society is capable of, and it's all recorded. And so now it's a vital time for every single one of us, especially on Tu B'Shvat, to go deep within ourselves and ask ourselves, where can I connect to within my roots, to strengthen the totality of the Jewish nation as a whole? This is not an Israeli conflict. This is a Jewish experience. And a couple weeks ago, I was in Park Slope shopping, and someone came over to me, and she said to me, I wear this necklace every day. It's an aleph for my name, Sheva. And she said to me, I like your necklace. And I said to her, thank you so much. It's for my name. And she said to me, I had to take my Magen David off. And I said to her, why? And she said, and this woman would have been, I'm just guessing, but around 70. So she has lived a lifetime. And she said to me, I used to identify as someone who was very much on the left. Those are her words. And I marched for everybody. But I have 2 sisters in Israel, and I don't know how to identify anymore. And what I said to her was, my recommendation is to identify as a Jew. But really, the pain that I heard in her voice and that I felt for her was, here was a woman who spent her life advocating for every single person who deserved, as a human being, to be advocated for, or whatever it is. I don't actually know the details of her politics, but the fact is she spent a life marching for everybody else's rights. And when it came to her own being as a Jew, all of a sudden she felt fear. And this is in New York, in America, in, the capital of we love and accept everybody. And I felt so sorry for her, but it really underscored my commitment to the first call to action that each of us have to do. And that is proudly own our Jewishness. Like, we are Jews. We are rooted to our history, to our soul. There is no cutting that off. Haman, Hitler, Hamas, they don't care if you keep Shevat. They don't care if you give charity. They don't care if you pray. They're not asking you any questions about your relationship with God. All they care about is that you are a Jew. And the only way to counteract that level of evil in this world is to proudly own it. And for everybody else, that can mean something different, but that is the first call to action. So when we look at what's happening in Israel, and when we look at what's going on, we have to say, what are we going to do? And so, like Chaya mentioned, when I got back from October 7th, I had that question, like, I'm Jewish. What am I doing? And the first thing I did was put together a shipment for the unit that was so badly affected, as many were. And then I said to myself, what am I going to do? So I'm going to go. I did not know what I was going to do there. I have one sister in Israel, but she's not affiliated with anything. I don't have family in Israel. As I mentioned to you before, I grew up connected to my American history and country. I identified as an American Jew. And so going to Israel was something of a tourist thing for me, or a biblical thing, as opposed to an active. But this time I said, I'm going to go, and I'm just going to do whatever comes up. And I told my mom I'm going to Israel. And my mother said to me, okay, but before you go, please go to the Ohel. The Ohel is the Lubavitcher Rebbe's gravesite. And many people go there for blessings or prayers. And she said, just, she totally supported me going to Israel. This was in November. I booked in October, but I actually went in November. And I said, okay, I'm going to go. And it was a few days before my my flight, and I'm laying in bed, and I thought to myself, oh no, I never went to the Ohel. And I felt bad about it, because I love and revere the Rebbe, and I have a lot of blessings in my life that I believe came through my connection to the Rebbe. And I really wanted this trip to Israel to be blessed for safety, for success, for proactiveness. So I felt really bad about that. And I was laying in bed. So what do? We turn on our phone, and I turned on my Instagram, and a video of the Rebbe came up, and I saved it, and I will give it to Chaya after, and she's welcome to link it if anybody wants to see it directly. And the Rebbe was giving out dollars, and a woman, she was giving it to this woman, and he was telling her, I'm giving you a blessing for, and like I always tell Chaya, if it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't believe it, but happened to me. So I'm giving you a blessing for your upcoming trip to Israel. And I want you to know that you should tell everybody about your trip. Because when they hear that you go, they will go. And you should go, because you should know that Israel is the safest place in the world, and you will have a safe trip, and it will be a good trip, and make sure to tell everyone. That was the gist of it. It was like a 2-minute thing. And I'm like in disbelief. I got my blessing, but not only did I get my blessing, I actually got an instruction. Professionally, I speak, and I share sometimes my personal stories, but in general, I had no intention to share with anybody that I was going to Israel. It was just me just going, I wanted to go to farms. I wanted to go help Chayalim, but it was not on my order of things to tell anyone. But when I saw that video, I felt like I got a directive, and I said, okay, thank you for the blessing, and I will tell everyone. So I got back onto Instagram, and I put on a story, I'm going to Israel. If anybody wants to, come or whatever, let me know. And so I went to Israel, and I landed in Israel, and I'm just going to say a few of the stories that were really defining, because I've been to Israel many, many times before. The first thing is that the unity in Israel was unmatched to anything that I've seen. Everybody had a collective pain, a collective mission, a collective strength. And that was in November. I am going back to Israel in February, and I hope and pray that it is the same, because as a unified people, we are unbeatable. We are unstoppable. We are unmatched, but it has to come from unity. And when I felt that energy just by landing in the airport, I was filled with hope and joy. And it was hard. You come in, the entire airport is covered in signs, begging that for the hostages to come home. And then I came outside, and I had been there just a month before, 6 weeks before, by October 7th. And on Sukkot, when I came, I remember looking at the taxi line, which was 2 hours long, and I just jumped on the train. And this time I was the only person in line. And that reawakened this idea that, I'm here to volunteer, but one way that Jewish people across the globe can support Israel is just by coming to visit. It does not need to be volunteer. It does not need to be on a farm. It could be in a spa at the Dead Sea. It could be in a hotel in the north, in Tveria by the Kinneret. It could be a vacation. But when you come in solidarity to your brothers and sisters that are there, that are suffering economically, you are helping this unified mission. And this was, again, highlighted when I got into a taxi and he told me that I was his first ride in 53 days. And after hearing that, I made a point to take more taxis than I normally would, and do my part in stimulating the economy in any way that I could. But that is something, as I was traveling through Israel, I was thinking, like, what are some ways that we can give back and support? So own our Jewish identity and go visit Israel, either on a mission to volunteer or not. Both are magnanimous. So the series of events over the rest of my 2-week stay, just like doors were opening up, I heard about this place on the Gaza border that was servicing Chayalim. So I went. If any of you want to see pictures, I have on my Instagram a little specific story tab. You can go and you can see all the photos. There was an amazing tent that they erected on the Gaza border. I only heard about it. So I just trained to the south. I didn't know how to get there. So I just decided I'm going to train to the south and figure it out. So I went to Ofakim on the train. I got there, desert. And a security guard asked me what I'm doing there. I said, I'm here to volunteer. She looked at me like I had horns. And I asked her, I heard about this place, Gilat. How do I get there? She said, you can take a taxi. So she was super nice. She called me a taxi, and the taxi drives me to Gilat. He says, you want to go to Gilat? I said, yes. He takes me to Gilat. I don't know where all of you live, but when he took me to Gilat, it was a gas station. But I want you to think about a gas station in the middle of Kansas, okay? Nothing around, just a gas station. And he said, this is Gilat. So I said, okay. And I get out and I look around and I see 2 tanks from the IDF. So I went over to them and I said to them, do you know where there's a tent that feeds Chayalim? And they said, yes. And they pointed that behind the trees, like I had to walk around for the gas station, behind the tree, there was a tent. And it was a glorious tent. It was a huge tent that these amazing people put up. And I walk in, and the first thing that I saw was a Chabad rabbi standing on the Gaza border, wrapping tefillin, asking anybody if every single chayal. And I noticed that no matter what, no matter who, no matter the background, they were all wrapping tefillin. And it just once again highlighted how we were a unified, collective body that was fighting the same enemy, that no matter where we are, who we come from, level of observance, as a Jewish people, we were protecting ourselves. And this tent had laundry for the Chayalim, haircuts for the Chayalim, hot burgers, hot dogs. And I basically walked in, I saw a box of onions. I said to the guy, do these onions need to be cut? He said, yes. I started, and then he said, when you're done that box, there's 4 more. So I spent about 2 hours slicing onions. And when I was done that, I went to see what the tent had. And since my arrival, a man arrived from his orchard, and he woke up in the morning, he handpicked boxes and boxes and boxes of fruit, and he set them up so that the chaylim that are coming in, that are eating tinned tuna or whatever, come in and they could have fresh fruit. And he offered me one, and I tasted it, and it was the most amazing fruit that I've ever tasted. And I got behind that that table to offer the chaylim fresh fruit. And there was a man near me, his name was Yoav. He had come from the north to volunteer as well. And he works in a non-for-profit called Yam Tov. And this Yam Tov, what they do is they take soldiers and currently survivors of the Nova Festival, and they take them to the ocean for ocean therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. And it was just unbelievable. Every single person that I met just had a story of how much they were just letting go of their personal life and stepping up to support. And I started peeling. And so I said, so what do? We give out the fruit. And they said, we peel it for them. And if they want, we chew it for them. And if they want, we digest it for them. We do whatever they need. So we sat there and we peeled clementines, and these chaylim would come in and we would offer them the clementines, and with a smile, and they would smile back. And it was just the medium in which we were able to offer unconditional love and gratitude for these chaylim. And a few of them came over to speak to us or talk to us. And when they heard that I came from New York, New Jersey, to peel, clementines for them, the wonder. And I had one chayal ask me, and I will also provide this video to Chaya if anybody wants to see it. He said, please record me. I have a message for the people that you have at home. And I said, sure. And I videotaped him, and he said, my name's Ofer, and I go in and out of Gaza for months, and meeting someone that came from New Jersey or New York to just show me that what I'm fighting for is unbelievable. And what it helps me do is it helps me realize that I'm not only fighting for the village that I came from, I am fighting for every Jew across the world. And I was so grateful that he had the foresight to share this with me, because I have shared it on, and it just shows each one of us, we live in America, and we think that there's either not much that we can do, but there is so much that we can do, because just like they are protecting us, we are protecting them through acts of goodness and kindness, through some of the calls to actions that I'm going to share, but letting them know really gives them strength. Another chayal comes over to me and asks me for a grapefruit. And I said, sure. Gave him a grapefruit, and he told me his wife just had a baby, and she told him it's the size of a grapefruit. And so the wife was going to take a picture with the newborn baby, and he was going to take a picture with the grapefruit, and they were going to compare, because he didn't believe that the baby was that small. And it was just like one story after the next. They would come and share, and it was it reminded me of like the tent of Abraham, where anybody was welcome, and Jews were protecting through military means. And then other Jews were coming to support, and then there were wives who baked gluten-free cake, just in case any chayalim couldn't have gluten. They wanted them to be able to have something sweet that they can have. And then they drove hours to this tent to bring it. And witnessing the strength of the Jewish people was an unbelievable experience. And then another thing that I do want to mention is my experience at the Nova Festival. So I went one day to the various sites of massacres, which was a very difficult but important experience for me. And when I was at the Nova Festival, for those of you that maybe, that was where there was a festival in a place called Rayam, and too many people were murdered, young people, young Jewish people. And when I stepped onto that field, I started crying uncontrollably. The ear felt to me like the ear in Warsaw, where the souls were still pregnant in the ear. And I could not stop crying. And a chayal comes over to me and he asked me, he said, "Who did you lose?" And I said to him, "I lost them all. I lost them all." And he said to me, "I lost my two best friends." And we just stand there crying, and people came, Chayalim, there were a lot of Chayalim there, because I think they were in the area, and they would go back to see what they were actually fighting for. And they came over, and every single one of them, I lost my sister, I lost my mother, not mother, I didn't have mother I know about, but it was more like I lost my sister, I lost my brother, I lost my best friend, I lost my neighbor. Every single person lost someone. And as I was talking to them, a rabbi came over to me. He had brought a mission, and he came over to me and he asked me if he could have my information. There was something he wanted to talk to me about, but it wasn't relevant at the time. And I said, sure. And I gave him my number. And he called me the next day, and he asked me what I do professionally. And this is just to show you that when you just go, I just went to Israel. I didn't know what I was doing, just wanted to be there and do. And he asked me what I do professionally, and I told him I'm a nutritionist. I have a private practice. And sometimes I do retreats or whatever, or maybe he looked at my website and he saw the retreats, and he asked me if I would be interested in doing retreats for widows. So, women who lost their husband in the war, if I would be able to provide a space for them, because they, many of them have children at home, and they are not able to grieve or just to pamper them. The minute I heard him say that, I said, absolutely. The only thing is I don't know these women, but if you are willing to commit to getting this group of women, I will take care of everything else. And so I am hosting a retreat for widows in 2 weeks in Israel, at a magnificent villa. They're coming to be pampered, and there's going to be some healing modalities that maybe they can take into their life. And so I put up a flyer for it. I thought it would be a way for people to, firstly, the Hebrew version was for him to be able to disseminate, to invite people. And then for me, I thought it would be a way to fundraise. And so I made these flyers and I sent it out. A girl sees the flyer, and she calls me and she says, my brother was killed. Do you have anything for siblings? And I said, I do now. And so from that, we are doing a day on a horse farm for 60 siblings. 60 siblings who lost siblings in the war, in this war specifically. And we're doing horse therapy and sound healing and art therapy, and there's a cooking therapy that we're getting involved. It's a full day, and it's a day to connect them and to support them and to show them they're not alone and help them out. The reason why I'm sharing all of this is that I, before October 7th, did not have any ties to Israel. I still don't, more than anybody else. Sorry, I have all the ties to Israel. They are my family. But on October 7th, it was a defining day. It was a defining day for all of us. And it's a day where we can choose to connect in some way and do something a little bit more. And from just deciding to do one thing, so many amazing things are now happening. because I decided to do that one thing. And so when Chaya, when I was telling Chaya that I have this story, I know Chaya for years. I don't know if we've ever spoken about Israel. I would have been surprised if I did, because it wasn't something that I was fiercely passionate about. But at any point in our life, we can decide to do something more. And that's really what I'm here to share with you, that I had this personal journey from my experience of getting involved in the Holocaust as a young kid to being in Poland right before October 7th. For some reason, this specific October 7th event, transform my life. My life is not what it was before. And so what I want to do now is I'm going to mention one more thing that came of it, just because it's something that I'm working on, and I think it's a good forum to let people know about it. It's in its very, very early stages, but one of the other things that I got to experience in Israel was I was kind of tagged along. I was not invited personally, but I was with people, and they were going to a meeting with the Israeli intelligence. And just because I was with them, I was privy to this meeting. And I'm pretty opinionated about all things Israel currently, and I am not shy to share my opinion. And so I did. And one of somebody at the meeting, we had a very long conversation, and he was telling me that one of the things that he sees is that the teenage population is struggling with identity, with connection, with all the things. So I had this idea to create an app called G2. It's like seriously starting to be programmed, but I'm still starting to talk about it. It's called G2, and it's going to connect Jewish teenagers in America with Jewish teenagers in Israel, so that they can offer support both ways. So the Jewish teenagers in America could support the Jewish teenagers in Israel, and the Jewish teenagers in Israel can teach Jewish Americans about our land. And it's going to be, a game or whatever. Again, it's really early because it's being programmed now, but the reason why I'm sharing this is because if you would have said this to me 4 months ago, I would have laughed in your face. So this is not something that was in my life plan. But sometimes when we just do the next step, things open and we start doing things that we never would have thought of. And they're right. They're right, and they are meaningful, and they are the things that need to happen. So I want to give you some of my ideas of what I think each of you can think about. I think, again, I firmly believe this with health and with life. If you just start one thing, the domino effect is unlimited. So we start with one thing, and I think that all of us are connected to something else, and all of us want to do something else. So that's why I want to give you a few ideas. So the first thing, not to be repetitive, but it is the absolutely most important thing, is to be proud to be Jewish. If that means connecting stronger to your shul or your synagogue or your community or another community or Jewish friends or whatever it is, or maybe hosting a Shabbat meal or going to a Shabbat meal, whatever it is that is something that links you to Jewish pride. Being isolated is very scary nowadays, because when we are isolated, what are we privy to? We are privy to social media. We are privy to the news. It's frightening. It's not uplifting. It is not strengthening. And in order to build us up as a people, we need to strengthen ourselves. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing that we can do is pray. So I remember I was in Israel. I went to the hospital. A few times. And right after the hospital, I had to pray, because when you're watching what people go through, missing limbs, unknown future about how they're going to be when they leave the hospital, pure sacrifice. It's pure sacrifice of everything, of who they are and what their hopes and dreams are for their whole life. And the only thing I could do after witnessing that was pray. And that is something that you can do from anywhere. You can do it on a plane, you can do it on a train, you can do it in your home, you can do it in Australia, you can do it in America, you could do it in Israel, you can do it anywhere. So that is something, and it is extremely powerful. The power of prayer is extremely powerful. Chaya, I'm sure, has so much to share about that, and I don't know how long I'm supposed to speak for, so I'm not going to get into that. But I do think that the power of prayer is something that we can all do as an option if that is something we want to do. Another thing that we can do is, like I said, go visit Israel. Doesn't matter what you do there, but when you go, you strengthen the country, the people, yourself. It's a transformative time to go. You will come out a different person and a better person. Another thing that you could do is you could donate. So that is, you can find something that resonates with you, a project that you know that's happening, organization that you know that is very hands-on. I do recommend finding something that speaks to you and donating to that, because there's so many things to give to, and doing something even grassroots could be very helpful, but it doesn't matter. It's tzedakah tatzal mimaves. That means charity saves people's lives. So by giving tzedakah, you are saving lives, and by giving tzedakah to Israel, you are helping. And social media, that's my last one. Lots of us spend time on social media, and in this intelligence meeting that I was at, I did come away with a takeaway that was very important for me. I was spending time on social media, and I was refuting the lies that I was coming across. I thought it was very important that if somebody's seeing lies, they should also see a glimmer of truth, know that not the whole world thinks like them, and that is absolutely not true. And actually what I learned there, because I'm not so tech savvy, is that if you write back to something that is a lie, you perpetrate the lie further because of the algorithm. Whatever you comment on, whatever you like, just gets widespread. So what you can do with social media is you can make sure to follow, like, comment only on messages that you want more people to see. And that was something that I had to learn, and it's still a little bit hard for me when I see something that is such an outright lie and I want to refute it, but it is something for all of us, when we're on social media, it's something that we can make a difference in. So that's my story, and I hope that all of you take something away from it, and I'm sure we're going to hear good news. Chaya?
Wow, Sheva, this is incredible. So when we met a few years ago, well, we always knew each other, but when we got close a few years ago, when we were stuck in a snowstorm, there was a snowstorm in New York, and there was no flights. We were in paradise, actually, Cancun, Mexico, the best shluchim out there, and it was just so amazing. And Sheva said on Shabbos, then she's like, I'm not sure why I'm here, but I understood that we had to connect. And like she said in the beginning, her birthday is on Aleph Shvat, and she wears an olive, which is cool. Also her name. And my birthday is Beis Shvat, and I thought that was it was very unique. And we decided we're gonna make a farbrengen together, a Hasidic gathering. So after we share the video, we're gonna bring that farbrengen to life. And we're going to make it happen for our birthdays. It's also my birthday today, January 24th. And it's Tu B'Shvat. It's a special day that we celebrate the trees. And it just shows that our roots are so strong because it brought out all of our connections to each other. And like Sheva said, she was crying by the festival. And who did you lose? And she said, everyone. And that's how I think I could talk for myself. That's how I felt. And I feel, and I realize that we have to really just spread more light and love into the world and not focus on the bad, because everything's concealed from us. Everything Hashem does is for the good. And I hope very soon we're going to see it with the coming of Mashiach. And you spoke about the Holocaust. Someone came to the Rebbe and wanted to know the reasoning of the Holocaust. And the Rebbe said, I don't know. And he himself lost family members in the Holocaust. He said, but when Mashiach comes, we will know. So I think our end goal has to be when Mashiach comes, which we have to make a reality in our lives and bring Mashiach into our life and make it happen. And how do we do that? By adding goodness and kindness into the world, into our lives, with our loved ones, and just spreading more light and really, really working on it. I want to just connect today's class that you shared, Sheva, if that's okay, with the Parshas Beshalach.
I love that.
Okay,
Thank you. I am also Sheva. It's so rare to have
beautiful.
a name Sheva, very rare, from Ottawa, Canada.
So special. We'd love to hear from you a little bit later, if that's okay with you. I'm going to share with you now about this week's Parsha. When the Jewish people left Egypt, Mitzrayim, some of us wanted to jump in and not move along. Another wanted to surrender and meaning like stop and just really just drown themselves and not have to face reality. Another group wanted to fight, and another group wanted to daven. And God said, those four things are great, but now is not the time. Now is the time for us to move forward and really like the end goal. Like I said, it's not a time to pray. It's not a time to, we have to do all those things, but what is our end goal? Our end goal is that we're going to all help bring Mashiach. And we must make it happen, and we will make it happen. And tonight we had on this program 65 ladies. So that's 65 people bringing extra light into this world. And it says one person can change the world. So imagine 65 of us can really change the world and bring Mashiach. I'm gonna share now where everyone is from, because I think that's very special to see. For those of you waiting for the recording, we'll send it to you. So let me share that with you. And after, we have a beautiful video about Tu B'Shvat that we're going to also share. And then after, we're going to share Sheva's video that she had an encounter with the Rebbe and the Chayal, which is a soldier. So I am going to now just read to you, just share with you a roll call where we're all from. So we have tonight with us Ottawa, Canada, Melbourne, Australia, Brooklyn Heights, Crown Heights, New Jersey, Baltimore, Brooklyn, Cobble Hill, Chicago, North Carolina, Sheepside Bay, Bay Harbor, Florida, Mexico City, California, Montreal, Toronto, Queens, Brighton Beach, Far Rockaway. And if I didn't mention anyone, you can post it and we will mention it a little later. But it's incredible how many people come together from so many different backgrounds, but really we're all the same. We're all the same. So we're now going to share a beautiful video of the Rebbe, insights of tonight's special day, Tu B'Shvat. We also have Surfside, Florida, special day of Tu B'Shvat. And I hope everyone really gets a new fruit and eats it, like buy a fruit that you haven't eaten in the past year and make a blessing on it. The blessing and also Shehachiyanu. And if anybody needs help with the blessing, reach out to me and I will share it with you. But let's make a Shehachiyanu and welcome in our new era of the coming of Mashiach, which we all are going to make together. We're going to make happen and come. So we're going to share the video now. So give us a moment while we pull it up.
The 15th of Shevat is the new year for trees, and the Rebbe encouraged men, women, and children to mark the day with a farbrengen, a joyful gathering where people inspire each other in the service of God. In an address to children, the Rebbe explains the significance of the day.
Der Mond vorige Woche kommt uns in Zusammenhang und als ein Hemmschiff zu der Azivis Hashem zusammenkleiden, was hat gedacht sein, Chamisch Osser B'Shvat, und es gewähnen mehrere ältere Chamischosser beschwert, wo das ist doch wie alle gute Sachen. Kedei noch soll das haben a Hemmscher, noch dem und bei Meise Hu Hoiker in Ton bepeil, wo der Ihnen von Chamisch Osser beschwert unterstreicht sich, wie unsere Chachomim erzählt seine Meweil, dem Posik, ki hoodom eitz hasode, als jeder Mensch und Nieden befragt, Odom edame leeli, atem krui modo, seinen gleich zu eitz hasode, in mehrere Hinsichten, in mehrere Protein, und wie die Gemorre teitscht das so, das meint, als wir lernen Teilu, Megita, Reis, Peres, in andere Wörter, als Eva, Neza, Soda, Tri, in der Sache sein ist, als ist mehr, halte in wachsen und werden als höher und starker und größer. Und was ist ein Tachlis, soll Reis geben, Peres, was in die Peres, sehe ich da Kernblech, was am seht einer Kernblech, wächst von einem Eichet ein neuer Bein, was geht weiter Peres mit Kernblech und weiter, und wie der Minag ist, Chamisch Osser beschwert, aber wie sicher hat ihr das Eichet mit Kaim gewährt. Am Esdemel de Peres in Stabchobehen Eretz Israel, von de Peres, wo sie sein in der Schwach, der Leib von Eretz Israel, wo das verbindet noch stärker Aiden mit Eretz Israel, wo eine von der Ikeranweisungen ist. A jeder Kind befragt, ist das wie ein Bäumel, was hebt Ton wachsen, und wie wächst, als wird größer und starker, und als sehr nächst die Pele seine, als sehe die Anweisungen von jedem von euch, was jeder von euch ist auch Sode, und wie gesagt, in Frieder Mond, Netzer Matoi, a jeder Id und jüdische Kinder beim Juchot, ist das ein Zweig, wo der Eberster hat allein eingepflanzt, mit dem Zweck, welchen Klois wo lebt, als guckt sich zu der Eberster, was ist mit Kain, der Schlichus, was gegeben, jeder Zweig von Netzer Matoi, am viel zu hoch wie Eiza Sode, von dem ebersten Feld, durch den Ruf, was mich steht mit der Vernord, nur mit jeder Tag geht mir zu noch mehr, in alle Sachen von Niedigkeit und in alle Sachen verbunden mit Hashem, worin wir sein soll beim Juchat von Zivis Hashem, und mir geht damit nur der Oberneiung und der Auffrischung von Reisha Shona Leilonis, am viel Zachuf wie ein Bein, wo das Netzer Matoi, wo der Eberster hat ihm eingepflanzt in sein Garten, und er geht reis der Emesse Richtige, Peris, auf welchem lebt dem Ebersten und lebt Eretz Israel, und lebt dem jüdischen Volk, wo das sieht man danach, Bekore Mamosh, als Mashiach kommt now und bringt uns die Gejule Hamitis wa Schleimer, a jeder von uns und jeder von euch und der ganze jüdische Volk geht in Eretz HaKedesh, Eretz asher tomit eina Hashem elekechabo, Bereshis Hashona vadach Rishona, in a ganzen Neifen, in a schollendicken Neifen und in a freilichen Neifen und beim Heere, bei Ameinu, Mamosh, now.
Wow, so powerful. So we're going to dedicate our Farbrengen. But before we do, I want to give a little thank yous. Firstly, to Hashem for giving me this opportunity and all of us the opportunity to spread more light through the Zoom world. And I want to say thank you to the Rebbe for really helping me with this class always in his way that he can. And I get answers all the time, and it's incredible. I want to say thank you to my mashpia of the class, mentor, Shandy Jacobson. Thank you so much. I want to thank my husband for helping me with this class, with the tech, putting it up on YouTube so many of us could watch this afterwards from different countries and people that wait for the recordings. I want to thank everyone for joining weekly. I want to say thank you to our ambassadors of the class. An ambassador is someone that takes on to share the classes weekly on their chats, on their community chats, and I share the merits. So if you'd like to be an ambassador, reach out to me, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're dedicating this Farbrengen to my dear friend who needs a refuah shalema, Devorah Leah Bas Yafa Liba, and to my dear grandmother, Bela Bas Chaya in Australia, who could use our prayers, and she should live to see Mashiach. That's what she wanted her entire life. She lived through the Soviet Union. She lived through everything. So let's help make it happen, Mashiach, so she can live to see it and hopefully be here to see it. I wanted to show you this really cute wine. It actually is my name. No, I did not make it, but it says Chaya, and I'm going to make a l'chaim on it. I'm going to say a bracha hagafen before we start our Farbrengen. And Sheva, we're going to do this in honor of our birthdays. When we start the Farbrengen, we're going to pull up for the three pictures that you shared with us, so we can see it together, actually visualize what you experience, and it's amazing that you have it. So I'm gonna make a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Oh, wait. Hi.
And the bracha's at the bottom. The bracha's at the bottom. So we're now going to pull up. We're going to pull up a video. So give us a moment while we do that.
Hello everyone, my name is Ofer and I'm a soldier in the IDF in the reserve unit, the special unit, commander unit. We're just going to cross the border to the Gaza Strip in a few hours, and I just met here Sheva, and it's so touching our heart that brothers from the other side of the ocean are coming now to Israel to help us and to be with us. It's only for this, we must win, because we're feeling that we're not just fighting for the villages next to the border, or even not only for the state of Israel. We are fighting for the whole Jewish nation. We are one nation, united nation. Thank you so much.
Wow, how powerful. Now we're going to share. Give us a moment while we pull it up. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to share with you a story that I heard that has to do with my great-grandfather. His name, they called him Ishka Lemas. His name was Yitzchak Yaakov Minkowitz from Neville, and Sheva's great-grandmother, I believe, from Neville as well. And in the Soviet Union, we've been doing a Soviet Union series. I got invited to her grandmother's house in the most special way, and I felt very strongly I should go, and I'm so happy I did, because that would have been my last opportunity, because her grandmother is now in Crown Heights, and she should live and be well. Chaya Bas Rivka. She's my grandmother's first cousin, and it was the most special like Shabbos, and you really felt like the family roots. We didn't know each other, but like it was strong, and it just was a very, very special Shabbos. And Friday night there was Sheva's uncle Rabbi Rosenfeld from Tzfat, Israel. He was there, and he said, I want to share with you a story about your great grandfather. I'm sure you know. And I said, I actually don't know stories about him, but please, I would love to hear. So he shared it with me, and I would love to share it with you, the power of a Farbrengen. So we're now having a Farbrengen, which is a Hasidic gathering, and it says what Malach Mechol, the angel of healing, can't accomplish, we can. And whatever people need in their life, you should have in a revealed way. And my wish is that Mashiach should come, because then we're going to have everything in a revealed way. And the story goes as follows. There was this woman named Rasha Rosa, and she was living in Russia in the dire times. And in those days, they were after everyone. They knew every Jewish family. They were informers. Everyone knew everything about everyone. And if you even tried to practice religion, light Shabbat candles, go to shul, you were arrested, and some people were never seen again. And this family was actually, which was the Rabashkin family, they were told that they were not allowed to live where they were. And that meant that they would have to go and wander from town to town. And in those days, it was very dangerous to do that. And they really wanted to stay with their Jewish community. And she came to the previous Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, had left Russia. He got out, and he put 3 Hasidim in charge, 3 of his disciples in charge. And one of those Hasidim was my great grandfather. And it's a very cool story, because I never knew this story until that Shabbos. And she came to these 3 men, and she asked them what she should do. And she was crying and very, very nervous, for good reasons. And they all looked at each other and banged on the table and said, you should make a Farbrengen, a Hasidic gathering. So sure enough, that's what they did. They invited the whole town. Everyone came. They couldn't walk together, but one by one came into their house. They had a secret Farbrengen, and every stitch of food was finished. Now, in those days, you weren't able to go to the marketplace every day. Food wasn't accessible like it is today. We go on Kingston Avenue. We have like 100 food establishments and everything at our fingertips. I mean, all over. There's kosher all over Brooklyn. Wherever you are, you could find some sort of kosher. If you have a Chabad rabbi, there's definitely kosher. But back in the day, like in those days, there was no such thing. You wanted chicken, you had to chef your own chicken, slaughter your own chicken. You wanted meat, you had to take care of it yourself. You wanted anything you wanted, it wasn't easy. You had to really work hard for it. And it wasn't easy to even get like meat and chicken and all of those things. And if you were, God forbid, caught slaughtering animals the kosher way, you were probably killed for that. So basically, they made a Farbrengen on Shabbat, and every stitch of food was finished in their home, and there was nothing left. So on Sunday, she had to go to the marketplace. Now, again, it wasn't what people did, but she didn't have a choice. She had children's mouths to feed. So she went, and she was generally had a happy demeanor, but that day she was feeling very sad, and she was walking with her head down. On the way to the marketplace, she meets a cousin, a distant cousin or a cousin, but someone that worked with the Communist Party. In those days, it was very common. A lot of religious families, they went to the other side because they felt like it was safer. They just didn't want to have to deal with being religious and Jewish and all the pain that it came with. And she looked at her cousin, and even though they disagreed with their lifestyles, they looked at each other, and she said to her, "Why do you look so down?" And she said, I'll be honest with you. My family is in danger, and we were denied papers, and I need you to please, I don't know what to do, and I'm just devastated. And she looked at her and she goes, "You're not going to believe it. I work for this man that stamps the papers in this." She was a secretary for this guy. And she goes, "I'm going to tell him the Rabashkin family are incredible people. They are about to, they're not taking any money for themselves. They don't have any money. They just are kind people that, they're not going against the law." And sure enough, she was able to persuade her boss somehow. And this verdict was like turned over, and they were able to stay. And we see from this story what a Farbrengen can do, the power of a Farbrengen. if they didn't have a Farbrengen on Shabbat, she wouldn't have had to get food for her house. She wouldn't have had to go to the marketplace. She wouldn't have met her cousin. It was all like a puzzle piece. And right now we're having a Farbrengen. And in this Farbrengen, what I want to accomplish is that I really want to tap into our Jewishness, like Sheva said, to be proud Jews, and to really like ask yourself, like, what could we do that's more Jewish to show my friends and neighbors that I'm a proud Jew? And the second thing is that we should really, like, this power of the Farbrengen should help free the hostages and just the safety of all the Jewish people around the world, and just to have more light into the world. And we should have the ultimate goal of Mashiach, because and it says before Mashiach comes, like when you have a child, 9 months, you're pregnant, a lot of pain, right? And then you give birth, so much pain, but then you have a beautiful child. And now we're in Gullus, so we're in a lot of pain, a lot. And these are the hunger pains for Mashiach, and it's going to come. So we have to remember that if there's no pain, there's no gain, and there will be gain. And we just have to constantly just be besimcha, which means like to have internal joy and to give good vibes, and to try good, design good, to think good that will be good, because everything Hashem does is for the good. And Sheva, if you have anything you want to add to that, you could unmute.
I just want to thank you so much for, firstly, I know that story about the Rabashkins, and it just shows the power of everything that we believe in. And I love that you shared it. So thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. And I hope that the last thing I'm just going to say about Tu B'Shvat is that the potential that the trees are accessing on Tu B'Shvat is unseen. And that I really love. Like the trees still look wintry, they still look dead, but they are gearing up for life. And I like my favorite day of the year. We're gonna all gear up for the life and the good news that's gonna start coming from this point on. And thank you for having me.
Of course, it was an honor to have you, and I loved everything you shared. We're just gonna end off with a video. So give us a moment while we pull it up.
Als je trotzdem letztes Wort. Was du da jeden was schrecken sich und schrecken andere, wenn letztes Wort. Dann vorne hinzu. Haben wir an der Pforte, ich glaube, was sie wissen lassen, dass du der sicherste Wort, da fahren dort die Wort von der Salim.
I'm talking about this word, seminary, 18-jähriger Mädel. Wissen, dass er hinbringen wegen der Bahama.
In Seminary wohnt in Jerusalem. Und ich glaube, das zusammen mit Leibischen in Mirabir. Und war dann so mal, wie können wir dann sichere Wort.
Wat is we moesten inbrengen.
Hast du schon? Das fällt doch an. Nicht bringen. Aber sie konnten doch lernen gute Sachen in ihrer Kirche. Selber zu machen. Ich glaube nicht, dass Zilma da gegangen hat, aber nicht so davor. Das hat weg schon.
Nicht
mehr der Tochter, bei Bechlala eigentlich dazu, das war weg von der Schule. Wir planen, haben in die gekommen, mit dem Geschirr. Mit den Sachen werden verkehrt.
Wow, thanks for sharing that video. And Sheva, good luck with your next mission. And I'm sure you're going to have so much to share with us. If you'd like to help Sheva in her missions, reach out to me. I will connect you. You can helping out with giving a donation and bringing smiles to so many people's faces. And I think it's so amazing that I think it's so incredible how you literally, this woman calls you and she asked if you're doing anything for siblings, and you're like, yeah, we are. We're starting right now. And that is what a lamplighter is. And
I would love to share one thing, actually. Sorry, because I didn't think on Tuesday, I am having a date for anybody that's in Brooklyn or tri-state area. We are doing an evening of prayer and song for women. I will send Chaya the flyer, but if anybody can come, I think that speaks to the power of prayer. It's going to be in a big shul in Brooklyn, and there's going to be music and davening for an hour and a half for Israel. And I think that is, again, unity and prayer together. So that is something that you can do right away. Yeah, so I'll give Chaya all the information of anything that I'm doing. I started a non-for-profit so that you can see exactly where your impact goes, and everything's on that website. So it's an easy thing. But come
Wow.
pray with us Tuesday.
I am so humbled that we had you. Incredible. You went on a mission solo and you coming back with so many more missions to continue, and Hashem should give you strength, and you should have yes, and you should have such an impact, and we all have what to give, and it could either be by donating, it could either be by prayer, it could either be by actually going on the ground and being there with the people, but we all have to take the opportunity and get involved somehow. If you have a social media, like you're able to share light and share truth on your social media, whatever you can do. Everyone has a mission, and we all have to do it together. So happy Tu B'Shvat, everyone, and thank you again, Sheva, for this incredible evening and inspiration.
Thank you, everyone.
And I'm so glad we were able to do part one of our Farbrengen that we made up that we're going to do. So we kept our word.
And we're going to celebrate so much together. I can't wait.
Yes, amen to that, and for everyone.